I went to Mexico to marry them. I have to tell you, we're comfortable talking in front of people on television, doing what we do every day.
No, but that's terrifying. They say, I can't remember the
slower,
study.
What do they say?
The study is women that are single and that do not have kids, like, out.
It's funny how the moments that are the most unplanned can frequently turn out to be the ones that people talk about the most. I have been working with live television for a substantial amount of time, and one of the things that I have learned is that even while rigorous planning is done, an unscripted incident can frequently take the spotlight. In the most recent past, I had another one of those instances when I was on television. You are aware of the type. It is the kind of moment in which you are just being yourself and indulging in lighthearted banter, and then all of a sudden, it resonates on a wider scale than you could have ever imagined. Aside from that, I will freely admit that I couldn't help but make fun of my former co-host. If you have been following my behavior over the years, you are well aware that I enjoy a little bit of fun taunting about myself. There is never any intention to be harsh. I am able to connect with others, maintain a sense of authenticity, and, to tell you the truth, adapt to the unpredictability of live television. Developing a rhythm is something that happens when you spend years sitting next to someone when cameras are rolling and bright lights are shining, one that is abbreviated. In addition, this may involve calling each other out on times, but in a loving manner, of course. We were in the middle of the show and everything was proceeding as it normally would. Someone brought up something, and it was one of those tiny behaviors that just demanded to be brought to people's attention. The talk was flowing and the energy was feeling wonderful, and without even giving it a second thought, I went ahead and did it. I made a joke about it, light and quick, with just enough force to elicit a response. We did, in fact, receive a response. Due to the fact that it was not rehearsed, the audience laughed, the energy shifted, and all of a sudden it felt like one of those great moments that remind me why I enjoy doing improv. There was no polish on it. It was in fact the case. Working with someone like Kelly Ripa, yes, I am talking about myself in the third person for a moment, is all about appreciating those moments that are genuine. People don't tune in solely for the purpose of the headlines or celebrity interviews. The reason they tune in is because they want to have the experience of being a part of something that is authentic, in the same way that they are present in the room with us. And when I made fun of my former co-host, I wasn't necessarily trying to put them in a difficult position. It was about the history that we all had in common. Many years of discussions, jokes, and subtle oddities that we have all noticed, but don't always mention out loud to each other. However, there are situations when you still say it. The magic is in that. One can get a sense of ease when they are in a familiar environment. When you have worked with someone for a considerable amount of time, you have a profound comprehension of the boundaries and the means by which you can navigate them without crossing them. The teasing is made more enjoyable and less awkward as a result of this. Respect, trust, and, to tell you the truth, affection are the foundations of it. Because, let's face it, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't bother making fun of you in the first place. I couldn't agree more with you. People are able to recognize that. They are able to recognize whether something is genuine as opposed to when it is fabricated. In that same instant, there was no instance of coercion. I was simply reacting in a normal way, just like I would in any interaction that took place away from the camera. During this particular instance, the only difference was that millions of people were watching. It's not a pressure, is it? However, this is the point about live television. A pause is not available to you. There is no opportunity for you to rewind. You simply carry on with it. There are instances when such unplanned events turn out to be the ones that people remember the most. The thought that came to my mind after the segment was, okay, that landed. This was not because it was a particularly dramatic moment, but rather because it was something that was relevant. Every single one of us has experienced that. Making fun of a close buddy, remarking about someone in a manner that is not malicious, but rather playful. As human beings, it is a component of how we connect with one another. Moreover, I believe that people are in desperate need of more of it right now. There is a touch of lightness, just a touch of comedy. it is important to remember that not everything has to be taken so seriously all the time. It goes without saying that when you work in television, you are constantly aware that everything you say has the potential to take on a life of its own. It is possible for a joke to become a headline. Short comments have the potential to become viral videos. In the world that we currently inhabit, that is simply the way things are. However, I've realized that I shouldn't give it too much thought, because if I begin to filter every single thing that I say, I would lose what it is that makes me me. And that is something that the audience can sense right away. They are aware of when you are going to hold back. They are able to recognize when you are not being genuine. Consequently, I always choose for the genuine option, even if it means making fun of someone on air when they are not expecting it. Having said that, I will add that there is an art to it. Simply making a comment and expecting it to have a positive influence is not as simple as it may seem. This must originate from the appropriate location. The manner is important. It is all about the time. Additionally, the relationship is a vital factor to consider. It is possible to establish that basis with my previous co-host, and it has always been. Moments like this are successful because of this. They are not experiencing any discomfort. They have a homely quality. The experience is similar to that of witnessing two people who have a deep understanding of one another. And that is something that I have repeatedly attempted to incorporate into the show. I want it to feel like a real conversation, regardless of whether I'm talking to a co-host, a guest, or the audience at home. There was no performance. Because to tell you the truth, I have no interest in being perfect. Realness is something that interests me. In addition, there are instances when being genuine implies laughing at one another. It implies drawing attention to the insignificant details. In other words, you should not take yourself too seriously. That is what ensures that the spectacle carries on. These are the reasons why individuals continue to return. After that moment, I've received correspondence from a great number of people who have expressed how much they appreciated it. This was not because it was frightening or contentious. Rather, it was because it had a human quality. It seemed like something that they will soon encounter in their lives. And I consider that to be the highest possible praise. Television, at the end of the day, is about connecting with other people. Even in the most insignificant of ways, it is about generating moments that resonate. And if a little bit of lighthearted teasing will do that, then I am completely all for it. For the simple reason that, let's face it, life is just too short to be totally serious all the time. Consequently, I did make fun of my former co-host, and I would most likely do it once more. Why is it that those moments, it is the individuals that people remember? You should know that after working on live television for a sufficient amount of time, you begin to notice everything. Every single item, by the way, the significant moments, the insignificant moments, and the things that the majority of people fail to notice at all until all of a sudden they take note of them. That is precisely what occurred with Ryan Seacrest in the most recent occurrence. Because I am already familiar with the way that this sounds, I will just say this right off the bat. And I adore Ryan, in all honesty. He is without a doubt one of the most diligent workers I have ever talked to. While simultaneously hosting 3 shows, managing a production firm, and taking a phone conversation, the man manages to maintain an impeccable appearance for the camera. Honestly, it raises a few questions in my mind. On the other hand, and this is a significant caveat, when you sit next to someone for years, day after day, live on television, you begin to pick up on them developing habits. A few peculiarities here and there. Things that, at first, you don't even notice. Then the next day, you will be unable to unsee them. There we were, in the middle of the show, with everything proceeding as usual. We are engaging in conversation, we are laughter, and we are doing what we do. On top of that, Ryan performs it once more. That one item. This particular behavior that occurs in front of the camera, which I have witnessed 1,000 times before. I was thinking to myself at that same moment, you know what? Now is the time to act. I was unable to resist doing it. I drew attention to it. Now, was it going to happen? Certainly not at all. Was there a need for it? Not likely at all. But was it hilarious to you? Oh, it was hilarious. As soon as I uttered a single word, the entire vibe switched in a different direction. Almost immediately, the audience seemed to recognize it. The kind of pause that only occurs when someone knows that they have just been lovingly called out on live television is the kind that Ryan experienced when he froze for a half second. After that, he laughed, as was only natural. Due to the fact that Ryan is able to tolerate it, this is the reason. He is fully aware of the characteristics that define our dynamic. He is aware that whenever I tease him, it is done out of a place of affection for him, or at the very least, I've been waiting to say this for years, she said. I've been waiting for years. The joke itself was not the only thing that contributed to the excitement of the event. What was revealed was what it was. Television is usually presented in its most polished form to the public, the completed item or product. The flawless transitions, the ideal lighting, and the talks that appear to be happening without any effort. However, they do not always see the subtle human details that lie underneath everything that is going on. Which of Ryan's routines is that? Another one of those particulars was that it is the kind of thing that occurs due to natural occurrences. When you are doing it, you are completely unaware of it. Eventually, it will become a part of your rhythm and your presence in front of the camera. And if I'm being completely honest, I believe that's what made it so relatable. To put it simply, we all possess those things. Those peculiarities that other people notice before we do are an example of this. A single individual is sometimes all that is required to bring it to everyone's attention on national television. No need to worry. Immediately following the remark that I made, I recall looking over at him, and I noticed that his eyes were filled with a moment of realization. As in, wait, am I really going to do that? Indeed, Ryan, you certainly do. As of right now, everyone else does as well. To tell you the truth, it didn't come off as cruel at all. This is an essential point. There was no sign of awkwardness. This was a situation that felt just like what it was. Two people who had worked together for years and were comfortable enough to be absolutely honest in the present time. It is not possible to fake something like that. The chemistry between you and the other person is either there or it is not. Also, it was always present when Ryan was around. Over the course of time, we formed this rhythm, an approach to communication that did not always require the use of words. When we were on camera, every little thing, a glance, a pause, a reaction, became a part of the vocabulary that we spoke. Therefore, it wasn't just a jest that I made when I pointed out his tendency of being on camera. It was a part of that conversation that we have been having for years and years. Just so you know, that was the one and only time I actually stated it out loud. It goes without saying that the audience adored it, mostly due to the fact that people enjoy seeing that side of things. It is quite exciting for them to see what goes on behind the scenes in a manner that is not overly dramatic or extravagant, but rather in those modest and sincere moments that serve to remind them that we are simply people. We have been featured on television. No, there are cameras, lights, producers, and timing cues. All of these things are present. However, after everything is said and done, it is still nothing more than a chat. Also, talks are full with peculiarities. They are accompanied with laughter. There are times when someone will say, "Wait a second, you always do that." These moments are inevitable. One of the things that struck me by surprise the most was the speed with which that particular moment took on a life of its own. A moment later, it's nothing more than a brief jest between the co-hosts. Another item that people are talking about, discussing, and reliving is something that they are saying. And I do understand it, because it had a genuine feel about it. I did not have a script that instructed me to say it either. My ears are not being hushed by the producer. Simply put, it was instinct, simply me being myself, as well as Ryan being Ryan. Sincerity compels me to say that I believe it increased people's appreciation for him even further. The reason for this is that it demonstrated that even someone as polished and professional as Ryan can have those little moments of humanity. The routines that tend to creep up on you without you even being aware of it. Instead of making an effort to conceal it, he shrugged it off. He took a stance into it. It is precisely this quality that distinguishes a person on television. Although not flawless, presence is essential. The capacity to accept whatever comes one's way, even if it means being the subject of a humorous moment for a brief period of time. Believe me when I say that I've been the punchline on more than one occasion. This is a requirement of the job. You are in the wrong line of work if you are unable to find humor in your own actions. I have always been of the opinion that the most memorable moments on television are the ones that you do not anticipate happening, the ones that have not been prepared or practiced in advance, the ones that simply occur as a result of your full presence, your active participation, and your willingness to expose yourself to a certain degree of vulnerability. Additionally, in the instance of Ryan, it was rather expected, in the most effective manner imaginable. Because at this point, whenever I think about that routine, I can't help but wear a smile on my face. In addition, I have a hunch that a lot of viewers are acting in the same way. As they watch, they will become aware of it, and they will think to themselves, oh, there it is. Simply put, that is the splendor of it. Even a brief moment might become an experience that is shared. It establishes a relationship even if it is only a slight one. Those moments are more important than they have ever been in a society when everything might appear to be such a polished and filtered product. That is correct, I did call him out. There was laughter from the audience, and without a doubt, I would complete the task once more. Mainly due to the fact that at the end of the day, it is what makes this job truly enjoyable. Being able to deliver lines or hit targets is not the only thing that matters. What matters is that you be present enough to capture those fleeting moments and that you are courageous enough to speak up when you encounter them. This is the case even if it means revealing your co-host's habit of appearing on camera to the entire globe. Apologies, Ryan, that is not the case.